Hello and welcome to today's special broadcast with me, Kuzwayo. We're talking about an issue that has been compounded by the pandemic that the globe is currently battling with, and that, of course, is the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Kuzwayo, and the fight against COVID-19 may really still be on, but there's another crisis that really is deepening. Hunger has been a global challenge for decades, but the coronavirus has made things worse. In May, Ask Africa did a research which found that 1 in 3 adults go to bed hungry because of unemployment as well as a loss of income. And in July, another report by Oxfam says while the world has seen some epicenters of the coronavirus, new hunger hotspots are also emerging across the globe, and South Africa is among them. So where to from here, and how do we begin to address this crisis of poverty, this crisis of hunger, and to help us understand the challenges of food security in South Africa and how Old Mutual is also adding its voice to the fight against hunger. I've got with me today Ina Norke, who is a founder and owner of Wholeness Equilibrium, and I also have Maker Hagebrechts, who is Chief Social Policy and Child Protection at UNICEF South Africa. And of course, with us is Tobile Chabalala, who's the head of brand group marketing here at Old Mutual. Ladies, good evening. Thank you so much for talking to us today. I would like us just to begin with you, Ameka. How worse have things been when you look at COVID-19 and hunger?
Thank you so much for having me here this evening with all of you. It's a great pleasure. So, what we have assessed and analyzed over the last months is that the loss and toll on the economy and on lives is 29 times higher than the loss as a result of the pandemic itself, correct? So with the lockdown, because we always speak about the pandemic, but actually the lockdown was the consequences that needed to be taken in order to mitigate the spread of the virus. However, the lockdown led to an enormous toll on the economy and social life, with the families losing their livelihoods and their employment as a consequence, and resulting in not being able to pay the bills, the rent, and food, adequate food security. So we see it around the world that hunger has gone up. As you said, 1 out of 3 adults, 15% of children, they are suffering from hunger on a daily basis. We just did a study with StatsSA on multiple deprivations of children, and they have all exacerbated. Up to 67% of children now live below the income poverty line, which is very high, because that also means that a family with children doesn't have sufficient income to provide an adequate, diversified diet for its children.
And Ina, I'd like to bring you in here because you're someone that looks at the diet and its importance and what we then are consuming. And when you hear something like what Make is presenting, which is a picture that really is showing us the difficulties that children are then faced with, how important is it to have a balanced diet, particularly looking at how important nutrition is around COVID-19?
I think it is critically important, and we know, from research that your nutrition during the first 1,000 days from conception until 3 years old is absolutely critical for brain development. But what we often think is that brain development stops at 3 years old. It actually continues until around the age of 18 years old, although a lot slower. But brain development and cognitive development is affected with a shortage of food, but also physical stunting. So what we find in rural areas with research is that the stunted growth, which is a parameter that we use to see what the nutritional status of children is about 26.5% compared to 16% in the urban areas. So the rural areas are definitely more exposed, and they have a bigger problem in terms of all this.
Particularly with the lockdown of the schools, the National School Nutrition Program came to a halt for a period of 5 to 6 months, and 9.1 million children were actually obtaining their main meal a day at school. And that was replaced with food parcels and so on, but that was not blanket feeding and insufficient to meet the needs of the children that normally will be fed through the school.
And Kabelo, I'd like to bring you into this conversation. We often hear calls for the private sector to get involved in the fight against hunger, because it is something that cannot be left to government alone, or certainly the NGOs that are trying to curb hunger. Why the initiative that Old Mutual then decided to bring into, to this space, to join forces with one movement in order to try and eradicate hunger?
Old Mutual as a brand has been around for 175 years, and the success and the sustenance of this business is actually highly dependent on the relationships that we have with our communities, our customers, and the broader society. So it's always been our vision, or rather our purpose, to enable positive futures of these communities that really build this brand and help us to be where we are today. So it was just a natural progression for Old Mutual to get involved in this through Move the Nation, whom we've had a partnership for over a year. So when we reimagined our sponsorship property, we started building a relationship with Move the Nation. When we're beginning to reimagine running, a lot of people participate in running. But given lockdown and where we are, we were not able to execute some of our sponsorships. And what better way to redirect that focus to really helping the most vulnerable, which is children.
And I want us to talk a little bit more before I go back to the conversation here. I want us to talk more about running and how this is going to be pieced together, because when you talk about running, someone says, okay, so you're running, and then how does it end hunger? But what was they imagining when it comes to this particular initiative? You run, and then what?
Okay, so we have Peteni, Kuzwayo, and Kabelo who are actually going to be running. So these are our key ambassadors in this initiative. And every step that they take actually is a symbol of every step that we actually encourage South Africans to take towards providing hope for these kids who are most vulnerable. And that's where the connection is. Beautiful. And Old Mutual has had a long history with running fraternity. And we have actually reimagined, because we want to create a lot more deeper relationships with people who actually run. And we want to utilize the sport to bring hope and obviously to support the most vulnerable.
Sister Kabelo, I want to bring you into this conversation, as we kick off this segment. What are you hoping to achieve with this initiative? I mean, you're saying that there'll be runners that are going to, with each and every single step that they take, they're going to make sure that it's a step towards ensuring that South Africa also gets involved in the fight against hunger. What is the end goal?
So the end goal is to raise a minimum of 6 million. Old Mutual has actually given a seeding of 1.1 million towards this initiative. So we are hoping and looking forward to participation from the public, corporate South Africa, businesses, anybody please do support the initiative so that we can actually reach our goals. We aim to feed 10,000 school-going kids through GEM, and that will be for a year. So that budget will actually last GEM for a year. So it's quite a significant amount that we need to raise. So I'm hoping that we will get South Africans to participate.
And for someone who's then watching and wondering how they can then be able to join in, how do we become part of this initiative?
So there's a website has been set up, hopewitheverystep.co.za, where you will actually get the details, and people can donate through that website and follow the prompts. Corporates will also get the tax certificates that will obviously give them the rebate towards the contribution that they make. So it's very, very easy. The website has been set up, and we actually start the race on Monday, the 7th of September.
What are you hoping to achieve with this initiative? I mean, you're saying that there'll be runners that are going to, with each and every single step that they take, they're going to make sure that it's a step towards ensuring that South Africa also gets involved in the fight against hunger. What is the end goal?
So the end goal is to raise a minimum of 6 million. Old Mutual has actually given a seeding of 1.1 million towards this initiative. So we are hoping and looking forward to participation from the public, corporate South Africa, businesses, anybody please do support the initiative so that we can actually reach our goals. We aim to feed 10,000 school-going kids through GEM, and that will be for a year. So that budget will actually last GEM for a year. So it's quite a significant amount that we need to raise. So I'm hoping that we will get South Africans to participate.
And for someone who's then watching and wondering how they can then be able to join in, how do we become part of this initiative?
So there's a website has been set up, hopewithEveryStep.co.za, where you will actually get the details, and people can donate through that website and follow the prompts. Corporates will also get the tax certificates that will obviously give them the rebate towards the contribution that they make. So it's very, very easy. The website has been set up, and we actually start the race on Monday, the 7th of September.
What then are the solutions when it comes to policy direction and how the world deals with this hunger problem?
So the solutions are multiple. It will be very important, as Ina said before, to educate children through ECD and education on food diversity and nutrition. ECD services are at 33%, really need to be scaled up to 100%, but let's look by 2030 at 55%. That's important. Secondly, it's important to expand the social protection floor and consider, expanding the COVID income grant to the 8 million people that were originally targeted, so that many more people can benefit more efficiently from this extra income grant. In terms of the child support grant, we are asking for it to become extended to at least until the end of the year, the top-up thereof, and for the caregiver to be considered with the children in the household as the number of children, so that the social protection floor becomes expanded at this moment in time. But lastly, the most important thing is that we move away from dependency and invest in the empowerment of our youth, and then the employment rate of youth is at 63%. That is a very worrisome situation.
And Ina, if I can bring you here, what are some of the ways in which communities that are finding themselves on the edge, that they can be able to access proper nutrition?
I think absolutely I agree with Micah that, that we need to teach people, with the gardens, but also how to choose foods. And I think often TV ads play a huge role here, and people think that it is cool to buy all the westernized foods. And it is not, because they are stripped from all the nutrients. And we know that in malnutrition in South Africa, we've got deficiencies of calcium and zinc and iron and vitamin C, over and above the fact that we got a problem with protein malnutrition.
So someone who's watching tonight and also still wondering why they should be part of this initiative, what do you say to them?
I would say see yourself as part of the solution in dealing with the problems that we actually have in society. We are all responsible to make sure that we come out of this, less unscathed and less traumatized than we are at the moment. So we can all make a difference, whether it's donating 10 rands or 100 rand, or making a difference in teaching kids how to plant their own gardens, how to grow their own vegetables. We can all actually contribute towards a positive solution.
Interesting. Thank you so much for your time today, ladies. That's Mabalane, who's the head of brand group marketing at Old Mutual. Maker Hbrechts, who is the chief social policy and child protection at UNICEF South Africa, as well as Ina Noke, who is the founder and owner of Wholeness Equilibrium. Thank you so much for your time today. Now, our next guests are people who decided not to sit on the sidelines and join the fight against hunger in South Africa. They're founders of Move the Nation. I've got with me Kabelo Mabalane and Peteni Kuzwayo. And joining us virtually from France is Gerda Steyn. Of course, she needs no introduction, as well as my guests with me here today. Gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us today. Kabelo, I'm going to begin with you. There's a lot that goes into preparing for such a race. 600 kilometers. I can't even begin to imagine. I'm sure somebody at home is just wondering how long that is. But what goes into preparing for such a race?
Look, I guess, we are involved in all facets of this campaign, from the strategy, the planning, doing the route, recce's, and then there's also, the other side of preparing physically and mentally. The hard workers that we are, the competitive individuals that we are, the endurance athletes that we are speaks, this putting this whole thing together speaks to exactly who we are. We believe about being in it for the long haul. We believe in doing, things that are bigger than you, that will live way beyond you're gone, But practically, it's about staying healthy, doing a lot of strength work. He's got 8 comrades, I've got 12 comrades. So we understand, what it means. I mean, Gerda too, we understand what it means.
And Peteni, Kabelo mentioned something that is very important, which is strategy and planning and the work that goes into this behind the scenes, not only for when you hit the streets, to then be able to meet up with those people, raise the money, take every step towards ensuring that South Africans are getting involved in this. What went into the planning of it all, because when it comes to endurance, that's one thing that the two of you need no introduction to, because you've got these comrades behind your belts, but strategizing for something like this, particularly during the lockdown.
Sure. I think the key thing for us was about, when COVID was still overseas, it's far. And then it hits South Africa, it's still far. And then it enters into a region that you are in. Before you know it, it's in your body. And there's a noise, there's steps that are counting about how many people are getting infected. So ultimately, our strategy was around communicating a different narrative. And communicating a narrative that juxtapositions negativity up against hope. So that's where the strat was. Linked to that was running is probably the biggest participative sport. So when you think about soccer, massive, but people are on the sides. When you think running, people are actually participating actively. So we thought to ourselves, message of hope, running has been so good to us and thousands and millions of others. How do we then reimagine running in partnership with Old Mutual, which had been a kind of like a partnership that we had started in 2019, to then get out there and tell a different narrative of hope.
And Gerda, I want to bring you in here. I know you're not here with us physically, but you are also taking part in this initiative, which is really something that, as I can see with a smile on your face right now, is going to inspire hope.
Yes, that's very true. I'm very grateful that I can still be a part of this great initiative, even though I'm like 1,000 miles away from home at the moment. So I'm very happy that I can still be a small part in this. It's such a great cause that the guys are running for, feeding 10,000 children for over a year with the money that they will be raising by people donating and supporting them on their run. It's a great initiative.
And Gerda, before I bring Kabelo and Peteni back into this conversation, for you, I mean, you set that record at the Comrades last year. I mean, the uprun, and everybody was wondering, under 6 hours. That, of course, was quite a feat. What goes into preparing your body for such a race, and particularly looking at the 16th, what are you doing to ensure that when you take part in that solidarity run, you also fit for the cause?
Yes, a lot goes into planning and preparation for a run like that. In my experience, I compete in the Comrades Marathon, and like you said, last year, I ran the uprun in just under 6 hours, and a lot of preparation goes into that. It goes way far beyond just the physical preparation and the training and running every day. It also has a lot to do with the nutrition and the food I eat and the diet that I follow. So in that sense as well, this cause is very close to my heart, feeding children and giving them a fair chance from early years on to also be able to use their bodies to the best of their abilities and feeding them with the right nutrition. So for everyone, athletes of any levels, runners of any caliber, has to focus on that. And it also goes even further than just training and nutrition. You also have to have a mental preparation, and you have to make sure that your mind is strong.
And Kabelo, really staying strong when things get tough. There's a message of hope. what, is the consummate message that you're sending to South Africans that are also going to be taking part in this, but those that are still unsure if they should be able to join this movement?
So I think what underpins, Peteni and I's involvement, along with, somebody like Gerda and quite a few other people which we'll be introducing as the campaign rollout, is just this attitude of selflessness, It's an attribute that we should not forget. I've said many times that that for us to make this country work, because at the end of the day, our small part here is about making the country work.
And Peteni, I know, when you spoke earlier, you were talking about the recce, the stuff that really everybody dreads to try and map the route and everything. But for someone who's wondering how it's all going to pan out on the road, can you just tell us how is it going to just run 600 kilometers just once, or are you going to also make it?
Hey, I was laughing. I was actually saying to him, if we hit our target of 6 million, I'm going to say to him, I'm fine, let's do it next year. So there's that part of it where you're like, this is going to be massive. But I guess in terms of just practicalities, so it's 17 days. Starting on the 7th, we start at 9 o'clock Monday the 7th, and we are running 7 days, doing 35 kilometers, which is approximately 45,000 steps. And we're going to keep that counter going because we've been seeing the corona numbers going. It's like, all right, let's counter that. So 7 days, 35 kilometers, 45,000 steps. And I think on day 8, we deserve a rest, but it actually isn't a rest. Because then we head out into Bethlehem to an ECD center, an early childhood development center, which is a kind of, where Kabza talks about partners. We've partnered with Joint Aid Management, and within there, 3,000 ECD centers. So we'll head out to Bethlehem, to one of the ECD centers. So it's actually not a rest per se, It's
going to be an interesting plan. Kabza, as a final word from your side, what do you say to some of the people that are going to be watching you as you are taking part in your solidarity run? What would be your message to them?
I think that my message to people will just be that it was proof that anyone can play a part in this. You never have to think that you can't, or there's no space for you, no purpose for you in this. This is something for everyone. We invite everyone to be a part. It doesn't matter if you're thousands of miles away, or if you're not even a runner, or whatever you're thinking is keeping you to be a part of this. You can be a part, and we invite you to be a part. And KB and Peteni, they'll need all the support they can get on that, on their big journey down to Pietermaritzburg and finally to Durban. So please play a part and be a part of this and make a difference in so many, many, many children's lives.
Well, I'm certainly challenged. It's just being challenged because they're saying that if you are not a runner, you must also take part, I think.
Well, you can donate. You can donate. Start by donating.
I think that was for me. The Kabelo is a final word to someone that, is really trying to come out of the shackles of hunger right now, and is looking to this initiative and hoping that someone in their area is also going to be able to just take their, their issues to account. What do you say to someone like that?
Look, I guess find hope in the fact that, we see you, that there's people out there who see you. The organization we're working with, JAM, Joint Aid Management, have been doing this for 30 years. They've got 3,000 cells in South Africa. They also kind of work internationally. Somebody who's hungry out there, be rest assured that I know there's countless organizations that are, highlighting your plight. And, this is our small way. This is Peteni and I's small way of saying we see you. Our target is 6 million rand. And, to those of you under the sound of our voices this morning and you're watching us, please go to hopewithEveryStep.com. Donate, donate, donate. Our target is 6 million rand, and let's smash that together. It's not up to me or Peteni. it's up to every single one of us.
Hope with every step.
Hopewitheverystep.com. Donate. We run. You donate.
Certainly, I'm sure that is easy enough. Thank you so much for your time today. To all of you, Kabelo, Peteni, we certainly wish you all the best.
Thank you.
This race. We'll be watching. We'll be seeing what is happening, and I'm hoping to talk to both of you when you come back,
yes,
just to know
you
how it was, and just to give us a sense of the people that you got to meet along the way, and share some of their stories with us. And Gerda, I do hope that you and me can talk after the 16th, after you've finished that solidarity run, so you can tell me about your experience as well.
Definitely. We'll catch up again on the 16th. And again, best of luck to the two guys running all the way. We'll be rooting for you. The whole nation is behind you.
Indeed, the whole nation is behind you. And that's where we leave our broadcast. You remember, you can go to that website, hopewitheverystep.com. From me, Kuzwayo, thank you.